Irma Ilsa Ida Grese, daughter of Alfred Anton Albert Grese and Bertha Wilhelmine Winter, was one of 5 children. At the age of 15 in 1942, she had a falling out with her father and left the farm. She then volunteered for the SS Helferinnen, also known as the Female Helpers. Irma was the ideal woman that Hitler wanted as part of his master race. She had large blue eyes and beautiful blonde hair. Irma had her own seamstress that dressed her in the most glamorous clothing that everyone adored. She was always in the most extravagant SS uniform known in concentration camps during the Holocaust. Olga Lengel, a prisoner under direction of Grese, said that Irma not only constantly impressed the German guards, Jewish prisoners were intrigued and starstruck by her appearance. During Grese's time in Auschwitz, she had several brief lovers, including the camp commandant and the infamous physician Joseph Mengele. Mengele did pseudoscientific experiments on twins and was well known for it. He performed agonizing and often lethal experiments with Jewish and Gypsy children. Another Nazi commandant, Joseph Kramer, was a lover of Irma Grese. All of Irma's love affairs were not long-lasting relationships. Kramer was a German commander of the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. The most hidden but important affair or relationship that Irma Grese was a part of included an SS engineer. They often met in the evening and went unnoticed for the most part. Ravensbrück was the largest concentration camp for women in the German Reich. It was also second in size only to the women's camp in Auschwitz. After the closing of the Lichtenberg camp, Ravensbrück was the only main concentration camp designated almost exclusively for women. Irma tried to enlist at Ravensbrück but did not fulfill the age limit, so they gave her a simple job until the time came to enlist as an SS officer. Before she was allowed to participate in any training, she performed telephone duties in the Ravensbrück concentration camp. Grese had arrived as a trainee at Ravensbrück at approximately the same time that a new commandant was appointed. This marked a distinct turning point in the camp's history. Although Irma Grese was one of the youngest SS women, she quickly demonstrated that she was more than eager to become a mass murderess for the cause. She craved power and control. Clearly, the strict discipline and authoritarianism that the SS demanded could form the sort of short-circuited personality development that would eventually manifest itself into her camp atrocities. This is Auschwitz. It was the largest concentration camp of its time, established by the Nazis. After Irma's time at Ravensbrück, she was transferred to Auschwitz as a senior supervisor and the second highest-ranking woman at the camp, in charge of up to 30,000 Jewish female prisoners. This is where Irma Grese, one of the few female guards of Auschwitz, engaged in sadomasochistic sexual practices with her prisoners. This means to obtain pleasure, especially sexual gratification, by submitting to physical or mental cruelty. Irma was part of Auschwitz II. It contained the facilities for a killing center, which Irma very much enjoyed. Despite her limited education, it would be difficult to believe that Irma Grese didn't comprehend just how involved she had become in creating the loathsome environment that manufactured the predatory, territorial prisoners. She knew exactly what she did to the prisoners in this camp. She enjoyed every bit of it. She felt pleasure from being a part of Auschwitz. Estimates of the Auschwitz slaughter range between 1 and 4 million, and even the Nazis themselves, attempting to come up with a death toll in the spring of 1943, could only render a rough estimate as only 404,222 people were ever officially entered on the camp occupancy record. Bergen-Belsen was a concentration camp composed of 3 different parts: the prisoner of war camp, the residence camp, and the prisoners' camp. Irma Grese took part in the prisoners' camp. She served as an SS guard at the transit camp for only 3.5 weeks. What she did at Bergen-Belsen would not change the punishment that she would receive if she would be caught. She simply repeated the incriminating actions that she took part in other concentration camps. Irma used her power to push people to the point of death. She enjoyed watching them suffer to live and not succeed. The torture fantasized her and made her constantly desire it. A prisoner of Bergen-Belsen once said that she had seen Grese and Dr. Mengele making selections of people to be sent to the gas chamber. On those parades, Grese chose the people to be killed in that way. They both saw choosing people for the gas chambers as a game. They did not care who lived and who died. They did not even care about the number. They killed innocent people whenever they wanted, and nobody said anything to stop it. British legal teams arrived at Bergen-Belsen and investigated the committed war crimes. They heard many startling accusations against the strikingly beautiful SS guard, Irma Grese. An interesting and post fact to think about is, at the same age most of us are trying to figure out what to do with a bachelor's degree, Grese rewrote what it means to be horrible and inhumane. Irma Grese was the first to be executed on Friday, December 13, 1945. The executor sprang the trap at 10:03 a.m. Her death was not immediate due to a miscalculation. She suffered on the rope. The end of one of the most brutal women in the Holocaust finally arrived. Irma became the youngest woman executed under British jurisdiction in the 20th century, and was also the youngest of the concentration camp guards to be hanged. As a child and young adult, Irma Grese saw herself as becoming a famous movie star. She has in fact been in films, but not exactly as she had imagined. She was not the hero of a love story that used her beautiful face. She simply appeared on the screen in the newsreels of the Nazi trials. Florence Nightingale once said, "What the horrors of war are, no one can imagine. They are not wounds and blood and fever, spotted and low, or dysentery, chronic and acute, cold and heat and famine. They are intoxication, drunken brutality, demoralization, and disorder on the part of the inferior, jealousies, meaningness, indifference, selfish brutality on the part of the superior."